Good afternoon. Welcome to Music and Message. This is a weekly series that features musical performances and spoken reflection from a diversity of religious and spiritual perspectives. These gatherings seek to nourish the spirit and soul of our campus community. And as we begin, I acknowledge with respect the Onondaga Nation, fire keepers of the Haudenosaunee, the indigenous people on whose ancestral lands Syracuse University now stands. My name is Brian Conkle. I serve as Dean of Hendricks Chapel, and today we are delighted to welcome Dan Loomis and friends for a special performance of Job's Trials, a jazz song cycle. This song cycle and narration offers a fresh look into a universal story, exploring why bad things happen to good people, and the delicate intersections and tensions between faith and fear and sacred inquiry. Based upon the book of Job, this artistic interpretation is in many ways a holistic homily that speaks directly to this moment in history, in which we too seek to respond to crisis with clarity, and we too seek both to understand and be understood, even when the very acts of seeking and receiving truth is perceived by some as protest. Today's production was made possible by the Malmgren Concert Series, and as we begin, I wish to offer thanks to the staff of Hendricks Chapel and many others for the efforts in making this happen, but I especially wish to offer thanks to Julie Cajola, who has invested her heart and soul and maybe one or two sleepless nights into putting this all together. So please join me in applauding Julie. As a reminder, immediately after the performance here at Hendricks Chapel, we'll be gathering for a dinner and discussion at 5:30 p.m. in the Schaefer Art Gallery, and we'll be discussing the themes brought forward in this performance. It's going to be wonderful. Our guests for our panel will include Pastor Darren Jaime of All Peoples AME Zion Church here in the city of Syracuse, Imam Mohammed El-Fiki of the Islamic Society of Syracuse, and also Rabbi Sarah Noyevitz of Syracuse Hillel. It's going to be great food, great fellowship, and a truly enriching discussion. So I invite you all to come immediately after this performance. And again, a special welcome to our guests who today will bring some spirit and soul here to the heart of Syracuse University. Thank you for reminding us that jazz itself is of the spirit. And today, as we reflect upon this story of Job through jazz, once again, we do hope that all of you in this experience may be invited into the fullness of life. So please, let us give a warm Hendricks Chapel welcome to Dan Loomis and friends.
Thank you so much for being here. So, Satan, historically pronounced Hasatan, is not who we think he is, or his persona is not what we imagine. Long before he was the devil, Satan shows up as a much less conspicuous, although debatably more consequential figure known as Hasatan, the adversary. Or, in this context, it has more of a lawyerly connotation, more like an advocate, like a devil's advocate. So in this case, we see Hasatan entering a well-ordered world, a scene of a just ordered society in which a righteous path is clearly laid out, and following it brings rewards in this life. Satan comes and simply represents an alternative point of view. Says, what if righteousness doesn't bring rewards? What if persecution has no just cause? What if the righteous path is hidden or obscured from view? These are very straightforward questions, but dealing with them will send ripples through our understanding of the world that we still feel today. So, tonight, or this afternoon, like any good attorney, Hasatan will present his case in the simplest, most vivid way possible. In this case, a simple wager with God involving the persecution of the pious Job serves to support Satan's case irrefutably. But as one of Job's friends says in this story, how forcible are your right words, but what do your arguments prove? So by the end of the story, we're forced to ask, if righteousness has no reward, is there no love? If persecution has no just cause, is there no justice? If the righteous path is unknowable or changing, does that mean it's not worth pursuing? Can there be value in having faith in goodness and love in the face of overwhelming evidence against them? So the unfolding of this story forces us to at least consider each of these conclusions, and we'll see for ourselves. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to the much understood and much derided, but actually quite reasonable and very likable, once you get to know him, Hasatan.
Thank you for that lovely introduction. I am indeed Hasatan, often called the adversary. And it's really a professional title, but it's sort of stuck as a nickname I can't seem to shake. So, you're all here this afternoon to look at an old case of mine in which somehow I got cast as the bad guy. How this stuck is beyond me. Even a casual review of the evidence shows that God was by far the worst behaved in this incident. But we'll get to that. First, let me set up how this story goes. This happened a long time ago. Now, as long as I have known her, and I had known her for quite a while already, even then, God has always had this desire to feel like she's got it all figured out. To feel like she's got the whole system dialed in. She wants to feel like she does right by everyone and looks out for all. Well, that's a wonderful sentiment, but God has a lot on her plate. And she knows as well as anyone else out there that she can't possibly keep the good times going for once for everyone all the time. We all know that once in a while something has to give, but God keeps trying. This was one of those times. God and I met up, and she points out how well one of her particular servants, Job, is doing. Then she points out how pious he is, how Job truly believes God to be all good, all just, all wise. And God is taking this as some sort of evidence that, she actually is all good, all wise, etc. As if there's some sort of incredible virtue on Job's behalf, rather than just some garden variety gratitude for the incredibly good life that Job has been blessed with. So, I point out the most rudimentary flaw in God's logic. I don't point out how many of Job's neighbors are suffering, even some of the pious ones. I don't even point out Job's many servants who live in less glamorous conditions so that Job can have it all. I could have mentioned all those things, mind you. Well, that's sort of part of my job, the devil's advocate. I just mention the most glaring oversight on God's behalf, which is that maybe Job has this high opinion of God because his life is incredible and he does have everything he could want. Or doesn't God think that maybe if he took some of these amazing things away, that Job's worshipful attitude towards him might just flag a little bit? God is nothing if not confident, so he doesn't back down an inch. So we make a little bet to resolve our disagreement. I get to afflict Job with all that I've got, short of harming his body, that is, and we both get to watch and see if he remains faithful. Well, in the end, it turned out pretty badly for God. She came out of the whole thing pretty angry, and she proved all of my points for me without me having to say another word, but that's just my point of view. I am the adversary after all. Well, let me take you through what happened. First, the good times. Job has 9,000 head of cattle, 5,000 sheep, 12 children, a wife, plenty of food, a big house, good times all around. Well, just sit back and imagine it. Over with. Now the story really gets interesting. At first, God was sort of hedging his bets. He said, I could take all of Job's possessions. And at that time, children were sort of considered to be possessions. sounds horrible to modern sensibilities, I appreciate. Anyway, his land, livestock, his family, all struck down. But Job is a devout guy, though. This doesn't sway him. He knows exactly what to do. He's prayed and studied for this moment. He knows that you have to love the Lord in good times and bad. So he knows what to say, he knows what to do. He gets down on his knees and says, "Naked have I come from my mother's womb, and naked I return. The Lord has given, and the Lord has taken away. Let the name of the Lord be praised." Round one to Job. So then I point out to God that human beings are really animals. Well, taking their riches hurts their feelings, sure. But if you really want to affect some behavioral change, you've got to hit them where it really hurts. Mankind may think it has risen above its animal instincts, but once you threaten a person's physical survival, you see just how readily the survival instincts can override moral reasoning. I said to God, "You've got to let me harm his body. Otherwise, you're just kidding yourself about his devotion and piety." It didn't take much convincing. God knew that I was right, so we afflicted him with some nasty boils, the inescapably constant suffering kind. Well, this really did the trick. About the third day, as Job is picking his boils with a piece of broken pottery just to distract himself from how much it hurts, his wife comes and tells him that he really should come around and curse God. And what happened next is a source of some debate and contention for my case. Job curses the day he was born. Said it would have been better if he had never been born. Now, to my understanding, that is pretty clearly cursing your Creator. If you curse the day that you were created, you can't be harboring too many warm feelings for your Creator. But I understand legalisms just as well as anyone else, and I see that Job isn't technically cursing God here. He stops just shy of it, and, well, some say that he never did curse God. But what he definitely did do, and this is why I like Job and his wife, and why in the end God actually still liked him too, he definitely developed a serious and vocal dissatisfaction with his situation. And he came to have a lot of very pointed questions for his Creator. But that all comes later. First, you just hear Job imploring that his suffering won't go forgotten and that it somehow won't be in vain. Well, it's in pure pain here. "My face is red with weeping. Deep shadows ring my eyes. Yet my hands have been free from violence. My prayer is pure." Or then the kicker, a prayer that his suffering and questioning won't be forgotten, or won't be in vain, that his questions at least will ring on. "O earth, do not cover my blood. May my prayers never be laid to rest."
My face is red with weeping. Deep shadows ring my eyes. Yet my hands have been free of violence. My prayer is pure. Oh, earth, do not cover my blood. May my cries never be laid to rest. yet my hands have been free of violence. My prayer is pure.
Oh, yeah, I almost forgot this part. Job's friends show up a little later. There's 3 of them. Yeah, they're a real case study in how not to console someone who's grieving. Actually, everyone should probably read this case, just to be reminded that the last thing you want when you're feeling terrible is to have your friends come around and endlessly insist that you should be feeling just fine. And you should have done something wrong, and you must have done something wrong to feel so bad. Nonetheless, these friends, Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamathite, are studied guys. They have many, many finely developed arguments defending all God's goodness. And despite the fact that they're essentially a bunch of jerks, Job listens to them and carefully responds to each one of them. He's more patient than I would have been. Here's how some of their conversation went.
Can you fathom the mysteries of God? They are higher than the sky. What can you know? They are deeper than the grave. What can you say? Remember, oh God, that my life is but a breath. The eyes that see me will see me no longer. You will look for me, but I will be gone. But blessed is the man who God corrects. Despise all the chastening of the Almighty Father. For he wounded, but he also healed.
Now, Job really ups the ante. All those people who say that he doesn't curse God have had a hard time with this part of the story. Eliphaz maintains the party line, like the unsympathetic friend he is, saying, "Consider this, who being innocent have ever perished, or were the upright cut down?" Fine words, but you can't expect them to have much resonance with Job at this point in his ordeal. Then he continues by actually chiding Job for not having the cheery outlook that he had in the past. "The stumbling ones have thy words raised up. The bowed knee thou hast straightened. But now it comes to you, and thou art weary. Now it comes to you, and thou art troubled." Job answers this in what really has to be the nicest and most poignant way. He says, "My eyes have seen all this and understood it. What you know, I also know. But I desire to take my case to a higher power, to argue my case with God." Now, written history is famously unreliable, but as far as I can find, this is the first time in the Bible that we see a mortal man having the chutzpah to request a personal audience with God. If any of you are parents here, you'll know that you have to hold on to some kind of authority at all costs, right? Or all hell will break loose. So, the prospect of one of God's children calling up to him and essentially saying, "Hey, I think that you might be all wrong about this. Can we talk about it? Or maybe I can change your mind." It's pretty out of line, no? But that's what Job does.
Consider thee, innocent. But now it comes to you, and thou art weary. Now it comes to you, and thou art troubled. Consider my eyes have seen all this and understood it. What you know, I also know. But I desire to take my case to a higher power, to argue my case with God.
So, Job has thrown down the gauntlet, and God picks it up. By the way, I challenge those theologians who say that Job never cursed God at this part of the story. Job may not be cursing God, but he is actively challenging her goodness and omnipotence. And for those of you who know God, you also know that those are a pretty big deal for her. Well, at this point, God finally tires of all of the fighting amongst Job and his friends. She pulls the parental equivalent of taking away a toy that two children are fighting over. It's like this. Job and his friends are arguing in circles about God's goodness and justice and how to be righteous. And God shows up and just says, okay, stop all the fighting. No one gets to be right, and no one gets to tell me about my nature. Who is this who darkens my counsel with words without knowledge? Do you know where the light comes from? Can you show darkness the way home? Tough to argue with that, right? Well, at this point, God does something unexpected. And to be honest, if this were a modern court of law, I think that it could cause the whole case to be thrown out, appealed, and tried on new grounds. In fact, maybe that's what should happen. So here is God's unexpected move. She shows up on her thundercloud and says, well, you just heard what she says. But after that, she rebukes Job's friends. She says that they have spoken wrongly in defending her to Job. Then she turns to Job and says that Job has spoken rightly. Once he apologizes, that is. That all that questioning her justice, all of Job's upright rebellion against the system she created, she comes and says that it's all okay. In fact, she seems to welcome Job back into the fold, while rejecting Job's friends who wouldn't dream of questioning her. Which may or may not help my case. I mean, it certainly doesn't refute my case. Look, God is saying that Job acted rightly in questioning 1, the goodness of the world, 2, the verity of justice, and 3, the rewards of a virtuous life. To call even one of these into question is to undermine the very definition of God. And we presume that God is trying to defend the definition of herself, so when God accepts this questioning, God and I seem to end up on the same side. God seems to say that Job can go ahead and doubt her system to and past the brink of blasphemy, or that that's okay for her. I have to admit that it makes it a little hard to say whose point of view won out. I mean, the whole reason I inserted myself into this story, my whole role in this narrative, and indeed the very nature of my name, was to oppose God, to set myself in opposition to what I believed her nature to be, and also to set Job in opposition through his questioning of the system that he was born into, through his righteous rebellion against his circumstances, through his resolute insistence that his truth must be heard, to set Job in opposition to God. But God seems to have accepted all of this. Even Job's radical move of challenging God to hear his cries, to grant him an audience, seems to have brought God and Job closer to each other. Well, so what does this mean? Does that mean God came to my side, or was I never against her at all? Well, who can say? It's been so many years.
What shall I say to you? I say to you, I put my hand upon my mouth. I put my
Thank you guys very much for coming. I want to thank this incredible ensemble, Yoon Choi, Noah Fort, Richard Crawford on voice, Nathan Elman Bell on drums, and Jeff Miles on guitar for being incredible co-conspirators in this. And I also want to give a warm thanks to the man who had the vision to kind of make this happen here. This is kind of a strange piece. It's not really a music performance. It's not really a service. It's not really a piece of theater, but hopefully it can stimulate us to think outside the box about this important story. And there was someone who really bet for that. So I want to thank Brian Conkle for making this happen and bringing it, and everyone who made this happen at Hendricks Chapel. Thank you. Thank you so much.